SGA once again. Little hesitation. The left hand. What a move by SGA.
Another block.
Chet Holmgren, the long arm of the law.
Back in the game. These are key minutes without SGA. And another drive. J. Dom cocks it back and throws it down.
This is Udart. You're listening to the Uncontested.
What is up, and welcome to the Uncontested Podcast, coming to you live Sunday, June 8th, as the Oklahoma City tie up the NBA Finals at 1 apiece as they defeat the Indiana Pacers 123-107 behind a massive Shai Gilgeous-Alexander performance. The Aaron Wiggins game, if you will. I'm your host for the evening, Jacob Niffen. Straight from Magic City in Atlanta, I've got JD Silva.
Fellas, glad to be here. I'm a little under the weather.
Silva, can I get a I don't want to be around anymore sounder?
I don't want to be around anymore.
That's what it sounded like.
Silva
I got Justin Peabody here.
Hello, everybody.
And we got Taylor Peterson.
Silva has like a multi-day hangover after spending a couple days in ATL.
Oh my God,
he's been struggling.
Atlanta will do that to you, JD.
Yep.
It's a wild place, I hear. We are brought to you by the Blue Wire Podcast Network and our great friends over at Prairie Artisan Ales. The chat's asking where the headband is. Hold on just a second.
There it is.
Gotta stay fitted. Much better.
We're here, baby.
Much better.
We're brought to you by Prairie Artisan Ales. Go hang out at Prairie. You can go watch game 3 and 4 up there. Get some $3 beers. Watch some basketball. You can DoorDash food straight to Prairie. Last week, I went and played Lord of the Rings trivia at Prairie. DoorDashed some fuzzies. Ate a quesadilla. Talked about Denethor. Had a great time.
Shout out to Denethor.
Shout out to Denethor. Actually, don't shout out to Denethor. He's that weirdo that eats the tomato.
I was literally about to ask if you ate your quesadilla like he eats a tomato.
Absolutely not. I'm not an animal. So go hang out at Prairie. Also, you can join our Patreon if you click on the link, or not the link. If you scan the QR code in the top left corner of the screen, you can also just go to patreon.com/the Uncontested Podcast. We also have these awesome Western Conference champion shirts. Show them off, boys. Ta-da! You can find those at cottonbureau.com and search the Uncontested. Somebody type that in the chat for me, please. Thank you, Taylor. Oh, no,
okay,
Justin.
nope.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Justin.
Well, okay.
We'll see who does it first. Who's faster?
Oh, boy. Probably you.
Cotton Bureau.
You want to make bets on if Taylor spells Cotton Bureau correctly?
I win.
Hey!
Dang it.
That's all the plugs I got because the Thunder win game number 2, 123-107 over the Indiana Pacers. Basically, it's game number 1 without the collapse at the end. That's what it is.
And converting how you should have in the first half of game 1.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How many times did we say Thunder should be up by 20 right now during that first half? And tonight, they just were up by 20.
We're up by 20. Hey, we've talked all season long about how the Thunder, they have this gear that they can put the car in that no other team in the NBA can get their car into that gear. And you can't sustain and play like that for a full game. But when the Thunder get there, if they can sustain it for 3 to 4 minutes, they just win the basketball game. They got there in the second quarter. Now, Carlisle called the timeout. Pacers came back out, went on a little 7-0 run. Thunder got the car back on the road, and then it was done. But, JD, that run there in the second quarter, I think that was the ball game. That was the lineup that had Aaron Wiggins in it. We'll talk more about him in a bit. But it's that Warriors team, except instead of threes, it's defense. It's turnover, run out, dunk. It's force a bad shot, run out, 3. They play in transition, and they just suffocate you on the defensive end.
Yeah, it was pretty unbelievable to watch. And I did I didn't smile a single time during this game. There, just to get that off my chest.
You wouldn't allow yourself.
I was deeply damaged by game 1 and the way that ended because I was like very sick during game 1 and just laying down, one eye open, watching the game, like just cheering silently, like, yeah, boys, we're going to do it.
Also, not unlike Denethor.
Not unlike Denethor.
Yeah.
And then I just saw something truly horrifying. And tonight I was prepared for that same level of like emotional devastation. So I just watched with a frown on my face basically the entire game. But I'm unpacking it now, and I'm glad to be unpacking it with my favorite podcast brethren.
Man.
The game was kind of over after that. What was it? You said it was a 7-0 run by the Pacers, 10-0 run. It was. We were up by 23, and then it was like 13, and it was like this happened in a minute. And I was just thinking like, oh my God, this is it. Like someone has to inject life into this game. And fortunately, it was Aaron Wiggins was there to answer the call.
As was SGA.
As was SGA, as was Alex Caruso, as was Chet Holmgren, as was J-Dub. This team, when they're clicking, it's everybody pulling in the same direction. The depth was on full display tonight for Oklahoma City, getting contributions from all over the place. I thought the Aaron Wiggins, Kenrich Williams wrinkle tonight was probably the most exciting personnel adjustment that we saw. Aaron Wiggins was phenomenal. I've said it since I think I don't know, at some point in the Wolves series that I wouldn't mind seeing Wiggins take more of Joe's minutes. Like unless Joe's going to go flamethrower, put in Aaron Wiggins because I feel like he brings you more on both sides of the floor and has just as much potential to go flamethrower as Isaiah Joe.
Completely.
Absolutely. I think there's 9 guys, Justin. I think 9 guys should play for the rest of this series.
I think so too.
And I think one other thing with Joe, he also, like Dub, is wearing some sort of like wrap on his hand each game. Not to make excuses for Isaiah, who obviously hasn't had the best playoffs, so he has obviously had his moments, but I would not be surprised if come off season there's some reports on that risk because it just does not look right.
I'm going to hit the super chat because I just heard an extraordinarily loud thunder out the window. Kaylee Brew saying Dallas area weather reflecting this win. Pretty much the second the game went over, the storm sirens went off where I live. And I made a similar comment. Can't hide from the thunderstorms. They were rolling through Oklahoma City right before the game. And now they have arrived in Dallas.
It was the most Oklahoma thing ever to have tornado warnings literally west of the metro as the game is about to tip off. And I tweeted out, is this going to be the first NBA Finals game that's has
Crazy.
to be paused because of severe weather? Thankfully, that wasn't the case. But
only severe weather was inside
in the arena. That's right.
Yeah. So the Thunder go with the same starting lineup again, subbing in Cason Wallace for Isaiah Hartenstein. I thought that lineup played fine. The Thunder sub out Chet for Hartenstein, stay the single big. But we did get double big tonight. Game 1, we got no double big. I don't know if there was any point tonight where they went no big without Chet or Hartenstein on the floor.
I don't think so.
But they
Even
did go
with
double
Kenrich,
big for stretches of this game. Something we didn't see game 1. Taylor, what did you think about that double big lineup? And what do you expect from it moving forward?
So interesting stat here from Law Murray at The Athletic. The Thunder starting 5-man lineup with Cason in there outscored the Pacers 21-19 in 8 minutes tonight in game 2. So only beat them by 2 points. All other Thunder 5-man lineups outscored the Pacers by 14 points in 40 minutes, which is pretty crazy. Thunder also outscored the Pacers 11-7 in 5 minutes with Holmgren or Hartenstein sharing the floor. At least one of those two were on the floor for the entire game until like that last part when basically Mark cleared the bench. So obviously it was very effective. I thought iHeart is kind of the we already rattled off so many guys that had great performances tonight. iHeart isn't a box score that's going to like jump out at you when you look at the box score.
Here's what that box score is: 1.7 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal.
And I thought he was so impactful, Jacob. Just his screening ability, the way he was able to facilitate and kind of break down that Pacers defense, which is critical. Because one thing we haven't mentioned, I was a little worried at the start of the game. The Thunder started out pretty sloppy. there in the first quarter. I guess if you have the sounds for Silva, you can play it. It looks like the Pacers were doing a lot of what they did there to end the end of game one, where they sped up the Thunder, got them out of rhythm, specifically guys like Chet and J-Dub, even Shai. He had an uncharacteristic turnover there to begin, but they were able to stabilize. And a lot of that was because early on, Mark subbed out Chet in that first quarter for iHeart. And I thought iHeart just played really, really well. Obviously, the double bigs was huge. The Thunder, even tonight, had a lot of instances where they struggled rebounding the basketball. But tonight were so much better than they were in game one, as I try and pull up these stats. The Thunder had 43 rebounds to the Pacers 35, and that is huge.
After being minus 17 in game one.
I think half of those rebounds were all offensive on one possession that still didn't score the ball.
That was brutal. That was absolutely brutal.
I agree with what you said about Hart, though, Taylor. The one stat I want to touch on a little bit more, to use your phrase, Hartenstein with 4 assists. That's the most assists for anyone on this team not named Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or Jalen Williams.
That's
I think
crazy.
that is impactful. 4 is not a ton of assists, don't get me wrong. But I think his ability as a connector in this offense is so apparent. He had that oop to Chet that was phenomenal. He creates a lot of action. He initiates it often with his screens. And I think his screening is something that doesn't get reflected in the stat sheet, but I think makes such a big difference. Some of the post-game breakdowns that I watched and listened to after game one, highlighting that the one thing you lose when you sub Hartenstein for Queso in the starting lineup is that screener. And a little bit of the stagnation in Oklahoma City's offense can come when you don't have that as an initiation of your offensive action. Kaysen's a fine screener. He's not Hartenstein. I thought Kaysen was a better screener in the first quarter tonight than he was in game one. So I think they probably saw that on the tape too and told Kaysen, like, hey, when you go set a screen, you've got to set it. Like, you're filling in for Hartenstein. You need to set it. But I thought when Hartenstein was in the action, just such a different dynamic. And then when you get the 2 bigs on the other side of the floor, what I love, sorry, they're sirens, and I'm trying to decide if they're tornado warnings or police sirens. They're police sirens. We're good.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that's better or worse. Honestly,
Beside the tornado.
The defensive side of things, when you have 2 bigs, it allows Chet to play that roaming rim protector role, that when he's the lone big out there, he can get pulled away from the rim much easier and allow a guy like Siakam or Toppin or Nembhard or Halliburton to get to the rim. And I think some of the runs that the Pacers went on came right after they pulled the 2 big lineup, whether they were taking out Hartenstein or Kenrich, and you just had Chet, and it would be 2-3 layups right in a quick succession. I don't think that's a coincidence. And so as much as I think single big still plays a very big factor in this series, I think double big plays a much bigger role than any of us anticipated heading into this series. And I think we're going to see a lot more of it in the coming games.
No pun intended, right?
Yeah, that's what makes game one still so frustrating to look back on, is that kind of all year the Thunder have said, we're not going to dictate our style of play based on the opponent. We're going to play our style of play and let them kind of mold to us. And double bigs has been awesome all playoffs, and really all season. After it was like a rocky first week or so. It was frustrating to not see that in game one, but I'm really, really glad. I think we're going to see even more of it moving forward. Like, it works. I don't know if the starting lineup is going to change. I'd be curious if you guys thought that or not.
Well,
but
I kind of think they'll stay with the same starting lineup. But JD, also like the big to big passing is such a thing that unlocks this offense as well. And speaking of the offense, JD, I want to throw this over to you. One thing that I noticed tonight that I think is really fascinating. I'm going to try to explain it specifically for the folks that don't watch the YouTube video and just listen to the audio. I'm sure you guys have seen this. So the Thunder have been trying to put Tyrese Halliburton in the pick and roll and are fishing for that switch onto Shai. And so if Hallie is saying, let's say he's guarding Dort, they'll have Dort come up to set the screen. But instead of Hallie playing on the underside of it, Hallie plays on like the opposite side of the screen on Dort, so there can't be a pop out, and then he'll kind of contain and then get back. And they'll play this little cat and mouse game to keep Nembhard on Shai. One thing I noticed, I'm interested if you guys saw this. The Thunder adjustment on that was Shai split. I think I saw Shai split 12 screens tonight. He would come off that screen, and then he would push dribble and get in between Nembhard and Hallie, split that screen, have two on the backside, and then collapse the defense and spray to corners. In all these series leading up to this, JD, the Pacers have decided, like, hey, the best player, you can go get yours. Giannis, Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Brunson. That's kind of how they played game one. How are you seeing Shai attack that? And how do you feel about what Shai has looked like so far in this series?
Well, you were right about them letting like the number one option kind of dominate. SGA is averaging 36 points per game on 60% true shooting in game 1 and 2, which is insane. Game 1, I thought he was really good. Game 2 tonight, I thought SGA was dominant and patient and kind of made the right decision the entire night. Every single minute that he played, it felt like he was doing the right thing. Taking a shot when you wanted him to, passing it when you wanted him to, drawing a foul when you wanted him to. Just he is taking what the defense is giving him. He's kind of falling in line with the Pacers game plan. But Taylor, you were chatting before the podcast about an adjustment the Thunder made is setting a screen much, much higher up.
Yep.
And SGA was loving that. He was feasting on that. But what is that stat? I don't know if you have it pulled up still.
I do. And so that's what I wanted to mention, because I think it's a perfect gap between what Justin talked about with the double bigs and bringing iHeart in and the screens that they were setting, as well as something Jacob mentioned with the guard-to-guard screens with the guys like Lou Dort or Cason Wallace coming up and screening for SGA. And then like a great transition as we transition into Shai's incredible performance tonight and the way he was able to just completely dissect the Pacers defense. And this is from somebody much smarter than I, per usual. Nekias Duncan tweeted about this very early, about how the Thunder were bringing screeners up higher at the point of attack, especially when the Pacers still had somebody there at the free throw line, another defender there at the free throw line. So tonight, and again, these stats get updated like the next day, so maybe isn't completely accurate, but the Thunder's pick and roll was run at 29.2 feet from the basket. The highest mark in a game this year for them was 28.9 feet against Portland. And the Thunder had nearly 1.3 points per possession on trips, featuring a pick and roll tonight. So basically what that's saying is the Thunder were sending screeners much higher for Shai, rather than letting him like get, try and attack on his own and get closer to the top of the key. And that allowed Shai to get room and freedom, I think, to dissect that Pacers defense, which resulted in him getting those 8 assists, which we'll get into, being able to get to his spots in the mid-range again and just essentially dominate this game from start to finish.
It's kind of like the basketball equivalent adjustment of the spread offense in football. You're just creating space. And when Shai has that much space to work with, he's dangerous. And it felt like he had all the space he could ever want in the game tonight. Again, this series, as much as it's making shots and the talent, it's such a chess match with Carlisle and Daignault. I'm really interested to see what Carlisle's adjustment to that is game 3, because he'll have one. Because I agree, that was a big focal point of this game for Oklahoma City offensively. It opened things up quite a bit. I'm curious to see how he counters.
For sure. Well, I thought there were some adjustments tonight, Justin. Again, kind of blitzing the Shai screen and then Shai figuring it out and splitting it all the time caused Indiana to collapse, and Shai was spraying out. I'd be interested to know what Shai's potential assist number is tonight, because it's got to be high.
Yeah.
Indiana went zone for the first time in the series. I can only remember 2 possessions of zone, and I could be wrong. I'll have to go back and rewatch.
Wasn't much.
The first resulted in Aaron Wiggins firing a pass to a baseline J-Dub cut that was just out of his reach. The second, the middle of that zone opened like J-Dub was Moses and the paint was the Red Sea. He got to the rim but got fouled and didn't get the and one, but made both the free throws. And then I don't remember seeing zone after that. Another adjustment. And I wonder if this was an adjustment that was planned, or if this was an adjustment that came about because of the ass whooping that was happening in the third quarter. But Hallie and Siakam both on the bench for the last like 3 minutes of the third, so they could both come in. And my assumption is play all 12 of the fourth, which did not end up working for them.
Pull the plug.
But I wonder if that was an adjustment, is because when that fourth quarter started, it was 4 starters and Ben Shepherd, because Naismith had gotten in foul trouble. So
Halliburton went on a little run. He had like 12 of the first 20 points for the Pacers in the fourth.
12 of 17 were in the fourth.
Yeah, that 4-minute break he got there at the end of the third, that water bottle was full of goat's blood.
Yeah.
And then it ran out.
The Pacers are frightening, because it was an 18 or 20 point lead doesn't feel safe. And can I be honest, I would not have felt this way if game one didn't end like it did.
Agreed.
Game one made me a believer in the worst way in Indiana.
Well, we saw that in the first half.
The shooting can keep them in anything.
Exactly.
They just
Naismith
lose confidence, and
Naismith is insane.
Naismith's unreal.
My gosh,
He hits ridiculous stuff.
Yeah,
then you have Ben Mathurin in that first quarter hitting like a fadeaway corner three.
Yeah,
like falling out of bounds. Yeah, but hey, flip side, like these games are so give and take. They're so nip and tuck. Like game one, we had the Obi Toppin game. He scored 5 threes off the bench. Tonight, Obi went 1 of 8 for 3 points.
Yep.
Tonight was the Wiggins game, who scored 5 threes off the bench. I think one of the massive differences tonight was Pascal Siakam going 3 of 11 from the floor.
Yep.
Nembhard going 1 of 4 from 3, only 11 points for Andrew Nembhard, minus 17. Shout out to my guy. TJ McConnell was 5 of 7.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
And
you can live with that, though.
Yeah.
You can live with that.
One team has a much better white boy off the bench. I'll leave that at that.
Hey, speaking of him, both him and Wiggins outscored
every Pacer.
Every Pacer. Yeah.
Speaking of that, we should give away a King of the Prairie award.
That we should. King of the Prairie. Brought to you by our good friends at Prairie Artisan Ales, who have some new beers, as they always do. This one caught my attention. It is a return of an old favorite that I've not had before, called Heat Wave. Heat Wave is a pineapple mango habanero beer.
Jeez.
I just saw Silva's face light up.
Need to try that.
Sounds fantastic.
It sounds like diarrhea.
Gotta make it better.
Maybe for you. So who's our King of the Prairie tonight?
JD, who is your King of the Prairie?
This guy doesn't get them very often, and I like to give out those King of the Prairies when I can. It's Aaron Wiggins.
Wiggins.
Do you want his stat line real quick before you tell us why?
Lay it on me.
I will lay more than this stat line on you, buddy.
Jesus Christ.
21 minutes for Wiggins, 18 points on 6 of 11, 5 of 8 from 3. Brother had 4 rebounds, an assist, and a steal, a game high plus 24.
That'll do.
Gonna need that in Indy. Gonna need more production like that in Indy. That would be great. Obviously, you're not gonna get the 20 points probably, but Wiggins hasn't been around throughout the entire playoffs as much as I thought he would, but he's showing up when it matters most, and that's why he is the King of the Prairie in my eyes.
Dagnall had a good.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna to that point, Silva. Dagnall had a good quote post game about that. He talked about how Wiggins was such a big part of the team's success during the season, but his role has been up and down in the playoffs. And credit to him for staying the course, sticking with it, and showing up. And I think that is such a theme of this Thunder team. Is even when Taylor was telling us that Wiggins was going to force his way out a couple weeks ago. Because of not getting playoff minutes.
More confident about that after tonight.
Oh boy, here we go. Wiggins shows up on a night like tonight and does this in the finals on the biggest stage.
JD, we talked about this during the regular season, that Aaron Wiggins is a guy that can win you a playoff game.
Yeah.
I feel like he was a big part of that tonight. Justin, who is your King of the Prairie?
It's Aaron Wiggins for all the reasons we've discussed. I've wanted to see him get more minutes, especially in this series. It feels like a good matchup, and I think we're seeing that play out at least through the first 2 games.
Taylor, who is your King of the Prairie?
Totally get it. It's hard not to give it to a player like Wiggins, who steps up on the biggest stage, literally. He literally saved finals basketball for OKC tonight, which is awesome. Also, Alex Caruso had 20 points, and I'll save that for Jacob probably. What's just incredible off the bench. It was huge for this team, but I don't think even with those huge performances from those players, that we really can give it to anybody else other than Shai, who I thought had an absolute masterclass of our performance tonight. 34 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists, 11 of 21 from the floor, only 1 of 4 from 3, which is kind of crazy. Some of those felt a little ill-advised, but I thought he hit more than that. He was 11 of 12 from the free throw line, had 4 steals and a huge block. I think, was it Neesmith that he blocked? I can't remember who that was there in the third quarter.
Yeah.
Just incredible. And some of the stats coming out of this tonight.
4 steals.
4 steals. 9th straight playoff home game of 30-plus points for Shai. That ties some guy named Wilt Chamberlain for the most all time.
Never heard of her.
Yeah. We're pretty young here on our podcast, but pretty impressive. Also, the first 72 points in the first 2 games of Shai's finals debut, the most in NBA history in a finals debut. Also, there were stats talking about just like Carson Breber on Twitter mentioned just like his game 2 performances over the last 3 series: 34 points, 38 points, 34 points on just insane true shooting percentages and shooting splits. I mean, Shai's just been incredible. This one also stands out. Players in NBA history to combine for at least 3,000 points, which he hit tonight, 600 assists, 150 steals, and 80 blocks in a season, if you include regular season and playoffs. Shai, Michael Jordan. That is the list. Shai is doing just some incredibly impressive stuff. And the thing that stood out the most to me tonight is he wasn't just hunting his shots. He has found the most perfect balance of, like we said, breaking down the Pacers defense, but then being able to create for teammates, find open shooters, especially Caruso and Chet. There were some huge plays there. Also, that big-to-big lob that we saw, iHeart have to Chet, that was created because Shai was able to drive into the lane and find iHeart off a great pass. Just not enough great things to say about Shai and how he played tonight.
Taylor, you're totally right. It was a masterclass is the right word. And watching it, you could see it with your eyes, obviously. But it made me so frustrated that the broadcast was as subpar as it was tonight. Because how many moments in NBA history have been amplified because of the broadcast and remembered forever because of the broadcast? Like painting the picture. This is what this moment means. Look how incredible this guy is. Unbelievable. And they treated it on ESPN tonight like it was just any other game. It was embarrassing, and it was, I don't know, just frustrating to like not see where he's on the biggest stage. This is our star. He's not really getting much. It just felt like a game in February.
Sucks. My king of the prairie would go to Alex Caruso.
There it is.
Bruce had 20 points on 6 of 11 shooting, 3 rebounds, an assist, was a +6, but I thought was just making plays everywhere, working his butt off, 3 personal fouls, but
4 of 8 from 3, Jacob. That's huge. And 4 of 4 from the free throw line too. That and 1.
He was great. He's been great. He is so consistent off that bench. Alex was great tonight.
His whole life is consistent?
His whole life is consistent. Not really. He hasn't done this in the regular season
at
all. But I thought he was awesome tonight.
He had a great quote post game as well, saying that he keeps having people come up to him and congratulate him on making the finals. And he says, I truly don't want them to tell me congratulations till the series is over. We haven't accomplished anything till we win 4 games.
I love that.
Love it.
I think. Oh, go ahead.
On that note, this whole team's mindset just oozes that, and that doesn't.
Yes.
It's not surprising, given. I mean, this is who they've been all season.
J-Dub yesterday,
but
pressure is a privilege. Like,
yeah.
woo.
But tonight, watching, I don't want to make too much of a big deal about this, other than bringing it up out of any kind of sequence or reasoning. But Shai's demeanor post-game compared to Hallie's demeanor post-game in game 1. Now, granted, Halliburton had just hit a game winner. He had every right to be on cloud 9, and he was. But Shai looked like he looked exactly like he did after game 1. He was no emotion. He was so even keeled.
Just like me.
It was jarring. It was just jarring. Like watching both of the post-game interviews with Scott Van Pelt after the game. It couldn't have been more different. And like I said, I don't want to make too much of a big deal about it because Halliburton had every right to be giddy because that was an incredible feat that he did in game 1. But I think more so on less about Halliburton, more about Shai and this Thunder team.
Well, Shai hasn't said anything.
Part of the process.
Like Halliburton was going at Knicks fans on Twitter as soon as they closed that series out. Like Shai doesn't do any of that stuff.
No.
His girlfriend was in the stands yelling at Thunder fans.
Dude, that was insane. That clip was wild.
Halliburton's girlfriend, just so we're clear.
Yeah.
Correct.
Halliburton stuck him going down the tunnel saying, we didn't even play that well. Let's get greedy after game 1.
Yeah, well, you know what? Get greedy got you an ass whooping.
Play worse tonight.
Wild. Wild.
A couple of honorable mentions, maybe some princes of the prairie. We got to mention Chet Holmgren's 15.6 rebound, 1 assist, 1 block game tonight on 6 of 11 shooting. Chet was so much better tonight than he was in game 1. Still only 28 minutes, which kind of surprises me. And then J-Dub, although not an efficient night, only 5 of 14 from the field, 1 of 5 from 3. He did get to the line 9 times. A 19-5-5 game from Dub is pretty awesome. If you told me Dub was going to get 25-5 a game, I'd tell you the Thunder win in 5, which 1 in 5 is still alive. You can't douchebag sweep unless you win or unless you lose game 1.
There you go. No, I think you're right.
In his bag.
Chet, especially there. I mean, he basically. I talked about the Thunder getting off to a slow start, and largely that being because of J-Dub and Chet just looking sped up, like each of them did game 1. Chet really settled into the game, hit those 2 huge 3-point shots, was driving to the rim and being aggressive, which is becoming a theme here over the past 3 series now, where we've seen Chet, no pun intended, rebound from a poor game 1 and just be way more aggressive and kind of let the game come to him instead of being sped up by the opposing defense. So Chet was awesome. J-Dub, the same. Like you said, Jacob, 5 of 14 from the floor. If Dub's more efficient, like we've seen him be, we know he can be, we're talking about a 25-point Dub game. And that is where I think Pacers fans are saying, well, Wiggins and Caruso are going to have, outscore our starters off the bench moving forward. We feel pretty good about that. Well, J-Dub and Chet can both score more as well. And that's something you can really hang your hat on for the Thunder.
Here's the thing is like Halliburton doesn't know what to do with this defense, it feels like.
No. He still gets loose late, especially late in games, and it's very frustrating to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But some of them are like crazy shots.
It reminds me of
I feel like they want to go at Hartenstein in that pick and roll, and that's why I like Hartenstein on the floor, either against Obi Toppin or Thomas Bryant. I actually really like those matchups. Miles Turner got a little bit loose today, but for the most part, they have so many guys they can throw at him. It's awesome.
Hey, speaking of Miles Turner, another reason I actually shout out to the broadcast for being horrible for this one instance, because Miles Turner had like the dunk of the year.
Yeah, that was wild.
Late in this game, and the broadcast, it was just they didn't sit on it. Nothing from Mike Breen. So that's being horrible.
Can I take a side quest on that? I've been wanting to do this all night.
Yes.
It's an abomination what ESPN is doing to the finals. This isn't new. They've been doing it for years. But someone pointed it out during game 1. Like, no national anthem, no player intros, combine that with nothing on the court. Tonight,
didn't they AI generate?
Tonight they added a digital trophy, which, to be fair, I said during game 1, I said, if you can put a digital Fantastic Four ad on my screen, why can't you do a finals logo? And then they started the game with these itty bitty little Larry O'Brien trophies, which they then switched out for the final script, which was a massive improvement. It should be the final script. But here's the pro tip. Kill the presented by YouTube TV underneath it, because YouTube TV's logo is already in 17 places on the court. Like, just have some respect for the finals in how you present the game. It's mind-blowing. Compare that to the World Series or the Super Bowl, where they take those little moments that make it feel special. From the beginning of the broadcast to the end, it just feels amateur, and it's so underwhelming.
No mystique.
There's there's no pomp and circumstance at all. It's so disappointing.
Or does a better job.
We get it. You all are disappointed that you're covering a game in OKC and then heading to Indianapolis instead of Boston and heading.
But
to
they did
LA.
this last year too. Like, it's not different.
Right.
That's the thing. Is like instead of showing the starting lineup, they're gonna show you a trailer for a Nat Geo documentary narrated by Ryan Reynolds.
Right.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Why?
It's horrible.
And then, like Silva said, you get into the coverage of the game, and it's bland. It's like a Tuesday night game in January in the dog days of the NBA regular season.
It's brutal.
It's disappointing, but
Goofy ass.
you know what?
Then like talking.
For Thunder fans or Pacers fans, I'll say that either fan base, whichever team wins this series, that championship is going to feel just as amazing.
It will, but like, come on.
Make it memorable and special for everyone involved. Smoot said this in our chat earlier that Doris doesn't really know what to say about the Thunder, it seems like. But for SGA, her go-to line is, "He's 6'6". I don't know why.
That's all we can say about it. Like you said, like it's I don't want to turn this into just a rant about the broadcast. And Jacob, I know you've been in the arena, so I don't know when you'll get to experience the broadcast, but it's just underwhelming given the magnitude.
I might
of the
not
stage.
experience the broadcast until the Thunder have a trophy, buddy.
That's insane. That's an insane statement.
We're about to leave for game 3 and 4. I think I might be in arena for game 5.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't want to harp on it too much.
ESPN sucks.
It's underwhelming.
I'm throwing it on the screen, then I'm taking it off.
Anywho, one thing, Nick just texted us this, and they did, to the broadcast credit, they did mention this. This is the first time all playoffs the Pacers have been 1-1 in a series. They have gone up 2-0 in every series thus far. So this is, as much as we like to go back and reference the Denver series for this Thunder team, not that the Pacers haven't overcome adversity, because they have, like with their crazy comebacks. This is a different type of adversity that they're facing for the first time in the NBA Finals. I think that is interesting.
Yeah, some people in the chat bringing this up as well. Brendan Carlson's Rolly says, I know he's a bench guy, but Stephen A saying Aaron Williams instead of Aaron Wiggins.
Yikes.
I know that Kenny the Jet Smith was on a show and said Carson Wallace and the Thunder aren't built for this stage. I don't.
Yeah, that was insane.
How many games has Kenny Smith watched of the Thunder this year? I'd place the over under at 4.5, and I'd go under.
It is.
And then tonight on ESPN, Kendrick Perkins was on there, and I was walking by to set up my laptop for this podcast, and I heard Kendrick Perkins say, "And that's why I'm just not convinced that Tyrese Halliburton is a superstar." Like, buddy, save that for first take. Now's not the time.
Exactly.
Now's not the time.
It is. God, we're so far down the rabbit hole. It is very, very clear that they do not care about basketball coverage. They care about hot takes, clicks on the internet, and viral reels.
Yeah. I saw somebody say,
if you didn't, you would have kept Zach Lowe and got rid of Perk or Stephen A. Smith. They don't talk ball.
Yeah.
They don't talk ball. They just talk hot takes. They fire off stuff to rile people up because those real clicks cash out.
And especially with ratings.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say tanking, but not being nearly as well. Justin, one thing you mentioned about the Pacers and them not being up 2-0 in every single series they played, they are 0-3 in game 3.
Yeah, they are
throughout the playoffs. Unfortunately, the Thunder are 1-3 in game 3. So we'll see which one of those.
What did I say the other night? The movable object versus the stoppable force.
Exactly.
Yes. It'll be interesting. I am coming out of tonight. We talked so much about how the role players stepped up, and we also know what the role players have done in general throughout the playoffs for the Thunder. That's my biggest worry heading into Indy. Pacers shoot the lights out kind of anywhere. They had a bad shooting half. They had not a great shooting game, but the first half in particular, that was a poor shooting performance from them. I wouldn't expect to see much of that in Indiana. can Oklahoma City's performance travel? We know Shai's will travel. Who else? Who else can have a big game in Indiana? Is it Caruso? Is it the big three? Is it J-Dub and Chet like they did in Minnesota? Like, can we trust the big three to do what they did in Minnesota, to come out and you got to at least win one in Indy? Or is it Aaron Wiggins, right? Like, is he the new revelation that comes in and unlocks it? I think that for me is the biggest thing I'll be watching in games 3 and 4, is to see who can combat what I'm assuming will be some incredible hot shooting performances from the Pacers at home.
Agreed. Completely.
The Thunder have been the better team for 7 of the 8 quarters that have been played so far.
Even more than that. What did
half.
Someone say that the Pacers have led for like barely 2 minutes?
That was a Nick tweet, yeah.
In the whole
130 seconds. 130. So from Nick, Pacers have only led for 113.3 seconds.
Not even 2 minutes.
Crazy.
That's insane. That's insane. And so
we are honestly, we are a Tyrese Halliburton last second jumper going back rim from the conversation of this series being the Pacers have no chance. They're completely outmatched. This is a slaughtering, to we have a series at 1-1. We're maybe not that Halliburton shot. I would say 3 minutes. We're the last 3 minutes of the fourth quarter away from saying the Pacers are getting blitzed. I mean, you take away and you can't take away the last 3 minutes of the fourth quarter. Only thing that matters is who has more points at the end of the game. But if you take out the last 4 minutes of the fourth quarter of game 1, this series through 2 games is like a plus 35 in the Thunder's favor. I mean, it's not close.
Yep. And that's the fun part about sports, is because that's not what happened, and that's not the conversation. And if the Pacers come out and win game 3, that's very much not going to be the conversation. And that, I mean, it's hard to say every game in the finals is a must win, right? But to go into Indiana and snatch game 3 and put yourself up 2-1, you'd have to feel pretty confident about that if you're the Thunder.
Yes. I feel, bottom line, we can continue on this for another hour. Bottom line, these 2 games have shown me that OKC is by far the better team. And if they play like the better team and go win on the road, like, they're going to be NBA champions. I'll tell you this. If they steal 3 and 4 on the road, they are not leaving Paycom Center game 5 without a trophy.
Jacob's not leaving game 5 Paycom Center without a trophy. Chain himself to Loud City.
I will. Hey, game 1, I almost jumped off the balcony at Loud City.
That's sports, man. That's the playoffs. That's the Denver series versus the Minnesota series, right? Like, one was 7, one was 5, but the margins are much finer than that if you really get down to it.
Absolutely.
Like, imagine if Oklahoma City wins game 3 in that Denver series.
Or game 1.
Game 1. Right. Like, it's such a fine margin all around. That's what makes it fun.
And here's the thing is, Indiana didn't even get the chance to make the run tonight.
Right.
OKC got it to 20. They made that little run to get it back down to 13. The rest of the game, arm's length. You never got past the 15 mark. They could just never push past it.
And that's the benefit of going up by 20 plus in the first half, which they couldn't do in game 1. Is that when they make a run, you've got a lot more cushion there.
One last thing on this game that I want to throw out, at least. I know Justin had mentioned, I can't remember if it was in the Patreon Discord, if it was in the group chat, if it was on Twitter, if it was via carrier pigeon. I don't remember where he sent this at. But I thought this was pretty significant. At halftime, the Pacers had taken 7 free throws. The Thunder had taken 8. At the end of the game, the Pacers took 26 free throws and the Thunder took 33.
Wow.
The whistle in the second half was bizarre.
I've alluded to this on the podcast, and I've been saving it for the offseason. Whatever that would have been for the Thunder. But
yeah,
in all seriousness, I know there's going to be fan bases from opposing teams listen to me say this and be like, oh, wow, it's so bold from a Thunder fan who cheers for SGA. the biggest issue facing this sport, the NBA, I don't think is ratings or, so many different things that we have already dove into, but the inconsistency and the officiating is the worst I've ever seen following the sport since I was old enough to remember. And it's a huge issue. And we saw that on display in comparison to the first half and the second half. Right. Yep. And you could say that benefited the Thunder. I'm not going to argue that. That's not what I'm getting at. It's an issue. The consistency is terrible.
But
Pacers took 7 free throws in the first half.
Yep.
They were in the bonus at 10 and a half.
That's exactly what I was going to say. In the bonus, 10 and a half minutes left in the third. I think they shot 12 free throws from that stretch to the end of the quarter. And Oklahoma City spent 8-ish minutes in the bonus in the fourth. Mm-hmm. Like, that's just crazy after the first half where it felt like they weren't blowing a whistle for anything in the first half.
Smoot brings up a great point. Nothing more apparent than what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And they missed Thomas Bryant goaltending.
Stuck his hand through the net.
Yeah, through the net and quote unquote got a block.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
It was.
I never saw a replay of that in the arena.
He blocked him through the net.
He went through the rim and blocked Chet. The Thunder ended up scoring on that possession, so it didn't matter, but that should have been
great example. Great
example.
Well,
Hallie had a 16-second call in the first half that didn't get whistled. I felt like there was 2 backcourt violations that didn't get whistled.
Yeah.
It's wild. And I don't know, just 15 total free throws in the first half, and then we end the game with I'm bad at math. 59 free throws. That's a big number, guys.
That's a lot.
If the second half felt like a free throw contest.
Only the last thing is just the Thunder rebounded, even though, like I said, there was very apparent missed rebounding opportunities and multiple possessions where they weren't able to obtain a defensive or offensive rebound. The Thunder ended up out rebounding the Pacers. They also had more points in the paint, which is huge. And that's something that's going to have to continue and can translate on the road, even if the 3-point shots aren't falling.
All right, guys. The next time we're on here is after game 3. JD, what has to happen up in Indianapolis for the Thunder to take a 2-1 lead?
Hit a normal amount of your 2-pointers and don't shit the bed late into the fourth quarter when you have a large lead. And you probably win the game.
Okay. Taylor, what do you think? What has to happen when we are in Indianapolis? Also, Taylor, please don't talk a lot of trash because I saw that two Knicks fans got stabbed by one Indiana fan in Indianapolis last series. I would like to not get stabbed. But Taylor, while we are watching from Gainsbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, what are you looking for the Thunder to do to come out with a 2-1 series lead?
Thunder have to continue to find ways to get into the paint, because that's been a huge emphasis for the Pacers so far this series. And then smooth.
That's crazy.
And then the things I mentioned, the rebounding is going to be huge. Points in the paint, just be able to convert offensively, I think is going to be big.
Justin, you'll also be in Indiana. JD's not going to Indiana. He went to Magic City not Atlanta. I'm sorry, Indianapolis. He went to Magic City in Atlanta. And so he doesn't get to go on the trip with us. Sorry, JD.
Wow.
It's all right.
Justin, what has to happen when we're in Indianapolis for the Thunder to go up 2-1?
I'm gonna flip it. Yes. I mean, you guys did a good job breaking it down of like they have to be able to score. That's been one of their biggest problems on the road in the playoffs. I'm going to say that the defense is going to have to travel to avoid a Wolves game 3 scenario in either of the games in Indiana. This team can get hot, probably hotter than any team the Thunder have played thus far in the playoffs. If you can continue to fluster them defensively, if you can continue to make life hard for Halliburton, preferably for 4 quarters and not just 3, that is, I think, a really big recipe for success. One of the things, we haven't even touched on it, but I thought their closing out in the corners was better tonight. Not perfect. Yeah. They still gave up some, but it felt better. It felt sharper than game one. I'm excited to again continue to see the chess match of adjustments play out and see what the Thunder do to counter some of the things Indiana brought to the table tonight. But if you can slow the onslaught down from the Pacers in either or preferably both of those games, I think that'll go a long way into helping your success.
I'm going with just the big three. If Chet has a game like tonight and J-Dub finds his shot, I think the Thunder come out of Indianapolis Wednesday with a 2-1 series lead.
Fingers crossed. We do have some supers. I was kind of like dragging my feet, waiting for Dave. Dave hasn't shown up yet.
Come on, Dave.
I don't know what to do with that. Summoning circle for Dave.
As Justin is reading supers slowly, so we wait for Dave. We are headed to Indianapolis. Pray for me. Taylor and I are driving to Indianapolis, and we're going to have a good time. If you would like to drop some supers so Taylor and I can load up at the Quick Trip in Tulsa, feel free.
Or afford like 1/76th of a ticket.
Yeah, no kidding.
So drop some supers so Taylor and I can get snacks on the way to Indianapolis.
There we go.
Nick Hicks sharing Jacob's confidence. We play our game. A championship comes to Oklahoma. And then my favorite part, I don't know if Nick Hicks is doubling down or if he forgot that he did it once already. He says championship to OKC if we play our game. I think he's just making sure you can buy an extra pack of Skittles.
Thank you, Nick Hicks. I am not a Skittles boy. Taylor, are you a Skittles boy?
I like Skittles, but I don't do it often.
Okay.
Like you're talking about like cocaine or something.
I don't do it often.
I like methamphetamine.
I don't partake in Skittles often.
But when I do,
I'll shoot heroin every now and then. You can clip that. That was 52-20.
Perfect.
Zohar says, seriously though, where's Nick? Nick is driving back from the arena, so he
in
is
storms yet again
in thunderstorms, which seems to be a theme. Nick is our boots on the ground, our media credentialed member of the Uncontested, but he lives in Dallas, so he had to make a trek back.
Hey, while we're waiting for Dave, where is Dave from again? Is he from
I think it's
Hong
Taiwan
Kong or Taiwan?
I think it's Taiwan.
There was somebody at the game one, holding up a sign that said they had come to the game from Taiwan, and I was like, oh my God, it's Dave.
Is that Dave?
Dave is here.
The mythical Dave.
Trav says, hello, I'm Dave. I'm not buying it. That's not going to work. Good try.
Respect.
Mackenzie with the comment of the night. I'm going to start and see if Justin will post it.
David Skelton says that he wore a different shirt for game one. My bad. Also, he went to church to ward off the Pacers' devil magic.
Now
Hallelujah.
we're talking.
Thank you,
Hallelujah,
David.
not hallelujah.
See what you did there.
Carrie says two beers.
Bears come soon. That's what you get with the Midwest Finals, the two Bears.
It's not a phrase I say often. Tube beers are coming soon. Maybe I can trade Prairie some Montana beers for some buzzer beaters. Ooh. See you soon.
Carrie will be down here for game 5. He is sleeping on my couch.
Yes.
That's amazing.
He's going to wake up and we're both going to be sleeping on the couch.
Hello.
Jacob's going to say, do you like Skittles?
I wonder if Carrie sleeps like JD. Like he's like in a coffin.
I don't sleep like that anymore, all right? That was
he didn't this past summer.
He's in his sarcophagus era.
That was my sarcophagus era. I'm a new man.
Are you not going to read Mackenzie's comment?
No, I'm not. Would you like to?
JD, do you want to read Mackenzie's comment?
Hell no.
If I put it on the screen, will you read it?
Once during the game today. You think I'm going to read that comment now?
Please read it.
No.
The Thunder need to win this series, so Silva isn't.
I want to feel happy again.
Mackenzie says, "Don't."
Don't.
Nosferatu, JD.
I've seen some shout outs for old Mickey Redbottom today for the
I have too. Mickey Redbottom is building lore.
JD, I'm gonna make you a deal. It's not really a deal. I'm just gonna make you a promise.
Okay.
If the Thunder win an NBA championship, since you are not going to game 3 and 4, we are going to get you a custom Mickey Redbottom Thunder jersey.
Can I not have a jersey that I want?
No, you're gonna have a red bottom jersey.
Because I can't even wear my current 2 jerseys. I can't wear.
Why?
The first one's Anthony Morrow, who was charged with domestic strangulation last year or the year before. Second one's Josh Giddey, who has allegations.
Which were cleared.
So
And Mickey Redbottom, who everyone knows was a big
now you
perv.
want me to get a jersey that says Red Bottom on the back. Can I not just have a normal one?
Hey, speaking of jerseys, Justin, next year's City jerseys.
Oh, yeah. Next
They're
year's
sick.
City jerseys. We're really stalling, just waiting for Dave, aren't we?
Yeah.
Come on, Dave.
Hey, if the Thunder win a title, should we give a listener? Should we do a giveaway for a Mickey Redbottom jersey?
Yes. For Discord.
What
Patreon.
number? What number does it have to be, JD?
6
No. JD gets to choose. He's the creator of Mickey Redbottom.
For Mickey Redbottom.
We made an AI Mickey Redbottom.
They did.
What number do you want him to be?
Let me see what number Bob Cousy wore.
Okay. Why? Just because that's the widest name you can think
Yeah,
of?
I think Bob Cousy is a loose inspiration for
like
Mickey Redbottom.
16. Something that no one would ever choose today.
What number?
See, like 16, probably.
16. Okay.
16.
A number with no aura.
Remember when Dennis Schroeder wore like, what was it, 71 or what did he wear in Boston?
Yeah, it was some crazy number.
Dennis Schroeder played in Boston?
Yeah.
Played everywhere.
71. It was 71. It was this. Okay, this is the most like niche, weird thing I remember about Dennis Schroeder, or probably the NBA in general. When Dennis Schroeder went to Boston, to your point, Dennis Schroeder played in Boston. He let fans vote on his new number on the Dennis Schroeder app. And people hijacked it and voted for 71 because that's what the internet does. And then he wore a number 71 jersey in Boston. Thank you, internet.
All right. I forgot about that. Also, I think it was Trav in the comments said Mickey Redbottom's got to be 00 because it looks like butt cheeks for Redbottom.
That's pretty good.
Amazing.
That's good.
It's pretty good. Are we giving up on Dave?
Come on, Dave.
I will never give up on
I'll never
Dave
give up on Dave.
until the day I die.
I did Google what time it was in Taiwan just to see, and it's like
Yeah.
noon.
It's noon.
Perfect.
It's not like
lunch
he's
break.
asleep.
It's his lunch break.
Yeah.
Come on, Dave.
All right.
Going stall for so long.
Dave, what he did last time he missed a show is he gave a, what do they call it when it's not live? A super thanks, I think is what it is.
Yeah.
So if
Did
you're
we
not
win?
watching this live, I don't know. But
Here's
just
the thing, folks.
go
if
check the
if we get
comments.
the YouTube notification that Dave has donated, we will tweet it out for you.
There you go.
The legend of Dave continues.
All right. Are we calling it a pod, boys?
I think so.
All right, JD. Thank you. Hey, the next time you will see an uncontested podcast, it'll be live from Indianapolis, Indiana. If Taylor's got a stab wound, it's because he was talking trash at Gamebridge Fieldhouse. If you want to donate money to Taylor and I to buy snacks on the way to Indianapolis, feel free. NBA Finals, 1-1, baby. Thunder need 3 wins to be NBA champions, tied with the closest they have ever been to holding the Larry O.B. You guys enjoy this one. Listen to all the podcasts, watch all the YouTube videos, and come back and join us Wednesday night. We will see you then. Until then, and as always, Thunder up.